Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the 5th canto, and it's chapter 25. The glories of Ananta. Anantadev. Omagina timirandasya gana gana salakaya chakshun militam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master has opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my most respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And all right, it's text 12, continuing glorification of Lord Anantadev, who is situated at the bottom of the universe, and he is supporting all the universes on his unlimited numbers of hoods, serpentine form, transcendental serpentine form. And this Lord Ananta, this is Krishna in his Ananta Shesha form. He's so powerful that said that the universe, although he's supporting it and it's balancing on his hoods, he doesn't even know it's there practically. It's so insignificant. So, because the Lord is unlimited, no one can estimate his power. This entire universe, filled with its many great mountains, rivers, oceans, trees, and living entities, is resting just like an atom on one of his many thousands of hoods. Is there anyone, even with thousands of tongues, who can describe his glories? Well, that kind of puts things in perspective. The entire universe, mountains, rivers, oceans, trees, living entities, it's resting like an atom on one of his many thousands of hoods. Is it possible to describe the situation? Oh yeah. There's no purport there. Go on to the next verse. 13. There is no end to the great and glorious qualities of that powerful Lord Anantadev. Indeed, his prowess is unlimited. Though self-sufficient, he himself is the support of everything. He resides beneath the lower planetary systems and easily sustains the entire universe. Ananta Shesh. It's providing support. And he's residing beneath the lower planetary systems. There's no purport there. We'll go on. Text 14. And this is Sukadev Goswami speaking directly to Maharaj Parikshit. And he continues, My dear king, as I heard of it from my spiritual master, I have fully described to you the creation of this material world according to the fruit of activities and desires of the conditioned souls. Those conditioned souls who are full of material desires achieve various situations in different planetary systems, and in this way they live within this material creation. It's based on their desires and activities. Fruit of desires, desiring the results of the activities. And involvement with material nature never ends. It just continues on and on. Life after life, birth after birth. There's never a conclusion reached. The only thing that there is just a continuation. And it's endlessly mutable. So the situations, the bodies, the minds, the planets, they can change. They do change endlessly. But the activity remains the same. Fruitive, 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 fruitive. And that continues through a cycle of birth and death over and over again. Oh, I have a confession to make. I have to take care of my very old father. He's 95, and there's not much I can do with him in terms of engaging him, or I just have to be there with him in whatever he's doing. At this point, can't really discuss with him or anything. He doesn't even know who I am half the time. So he likes to watch movies. I don't think he really even knows what he's watching. I think it's just the lights, the colors, and the sounds, and there's people moving around on the screen. I don't think he really can follow a plot line very well. But so he wanted to watch Rin Tin Tin. And I sat with him. And it was a very old series. It was from the 1920s, when, of course, that is a pretty famous series now. It continued all the way up through when I was young. 50s, even the 60s, I think, Rin Tin Tin. But this was the very beginning of the series. And it was, they would show it as a serial. It was like the continuing adventures. So you'd have like a half hour or 45 minutes of Rin Tin Tin, which is was a dog that was supposed to be as intelligent as a human being. And he was saving people, and he was the hero. The dog was the hero. He would save people from their, if somebody was being attacked, the dog would save them. If somebody had fallen off a cliff, the dog would go get help. He was the hero. And he had a friend, the horse, who had been stolen, and they were trying to get the horse to the rightful owner. Anyway, it just kept going on and on and on. It was a serial. So I sat with my father through part one, and then to be continued, it gets to like the point where the barn's on fire and how are they going to get out, and then it's to be continued next week. So then we sat through part two, and then it was, the truck is it's a runaway truck, an old 1920s truck, and there's no driver, and it's ready to go over the cliff, and to be continued in part three. And it just kept going on and on and on and on. Part 4, part 5, part 6. I couldn't take it anymore. So that was, the time I spent visiting with my father. What can I do? I brought him some little things to eat. But that's the material situation. It's a serial. And to be continued next life. Part 2. To be continued next life. Part 3. And the conclusion is never reached. It's like that serial, I don't know how many parts it had. It looked like there was a whole library on this one series where this one particular problem was not solved. And it was, I don't know how many parts there were to this thing. And that's the material engagement. That's material life. It's never solved. It's never solved. Not this, get a better job or don't have a job, or it's never solved. The problems of material life are never solved because it's like that serial Rin Tin Tin series. It just goes on and on and on, and it's never solved. Because that's the nature of the material world. It's full of problems, endlessly. There's no end. Why? Because that's the engagement in the material world. That's the engagement, is to continuously try to solve problems that have no solution. It's busy work with no benefit. It's just busy work. It's like the hamster on the treadmill, around and around and around and around. It's just because we're energy. We are energy. We're spiritual energy. We're energy. And we cannot remain inactive, even for a moment. So if we're not active in spiritual activity, then we're going to be active in material activity. In material activity, it's just endlessly mutable. It brings no real satisfaction because we're not material. We're trying to engage endlessly. Bigger, better, louder, more, faster, prettier, stronger. More gigabytes. It just goes on. And the quality of it remains the same. The same quality is there. The same headache is there, whether somebody has $100 in the bank or somebody has $100 million in the bank. It's the same headache. Because of the engagement. The only solution is to engage in the service of Krishna. Which means offering all of our activities for the pleasure of the Lord. And become free from the cycle of birth and death. Repeated birth, death, old age, and disease. It's just like that series, that Rin Tin Tin series. Just don't watch it. Don't go to that show. Just don't watch it. Don't give it any energy. It'll go away. So we practice, and we practice, and we practice, because we've been in this Rin Tin Tin series here in the material world uncountable, unlimited lifetimes, over and over and over again, never reaching it, just going on a hamster around the wheel. Part 3,450,000 of the Rin Tin Tin series. We've been here so long. So gradually, we're able to distinguish the spirit from the matter, the spiritual activities from the material activities. And at last, it's gone. And it will be gone. Just like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, one goes to that abode, spiritual abode of mine, they never return. Say, oh, I've seen that movie before. Oh, I know what that is. I know what that is. That's a Rin Tin Tin series. Forget it. I don't need that. Thank you. Just don't need it. Just don't need it. A waste of time. Just horrible waste of time. So, read the verse again. My dear king, as I heard it from my spiritual master, I fully described to you the creation of this material world according to the fruit of activities and desires of the conditioned souls. Those conditioned souls who are full of material desires achieve various situations in different planetary systems. And in this way they live within this material creation. Prabhupada's commentary. In this regard, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings, translation, my Lord, I do not know when I commenced my material life, but I can certainly experience that I have fallen in the deep ocean of nescience. Now I can also see that there's no other way to get out of it than to take shelter of your lotus feet. Similarly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offers the following prayer. Ainantananuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam buddha kripaya tavapada pankaja stita duli sadurisham vichintaya. My dear Lord, son of Nanda Maharaj, I am your eternal servant. Somehow or other, I've fallen into this ocean of nescience. Kindly, therefore, save me from this horrible condition of materialistic life. Hare Krishna. Text 15. My dear king, I have thus described how people generally act according to their different desires, and as a result get different types of bodies in higher or lower planets. You inquired of these things from me, and I've explained to you whatever I've heard from authorities. What shall I speak now? Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 5th canto, 25th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Glories of Ananta. I have a little more time. We can go on to chapter 26. And we have that little summary that is usually in the front of these chapters. And this is chapter 26. The title is a description of the hellish planets. Well, here we go. Oh God. All right. Hey Krishna. The 26th chapter describes how a sinful man goes to different hells, where he's punished in various ways by the assistance of Yamaraj, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 3:27. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasa ahankara vamudatma katahamiti manyate. The bewildered soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities which are in actuality carried out by nature. The foolish person thinks he's independent of any law. He thinks there is no God or regular principle, can do whatever he likes. Thus he engages in different sinful activities, and as a result he's put in different hellish conditions, life after life, to be punished by the laws of nature. The basic principle of his suffering is he foolishly thinks himself independent, although he's strictly under the control of the laws of material nature. These laws act due to the influence of the three modes of nature, and therefore each human being also works under three different types of influence. According to how he acts, he suffers different reactions in the next life or in this life. Religious persons act differently from atheists, and therefore they suffer different reactions. Sukadeva Goswami describes the following 28 hells. Tamisra, Andatamisra, Raurava, Maharorava, Kumbhipaka, Kalasutra, Asipatravana, Sukramukha, Andakupa, Krimi Bhojana, Sandamsa, Taptasurmi, Vajrakantaka, Salmali, Vaitarani, Puyoda, Pranaroda, Vishashan, Lalabaksha, Saramayada, Avici, Ayapana, Sharakardama, Rakshogan Bhojan, Sulaprota, Dandasuka, Avatanarodana, Paryavartana, and Suchimukha. Hare Krishna. A person who steals another's money, wife, or possessions is put into the hell known as Tamisra. A man who tricks someone and enjoys his wife is put into the hellish, extremely hellish condition known as Andatamisra. A foolish person absorbed in bodily concept of life, who on the basis of this principle maintains himself or his wife and children by committing violence against other living entities, is put into the hell known as Raurava. There, the animals he killed take birth as creatures called rurus, cause great suffering for him. Those who kill different animals and birds and then cook them are put by the agents of Yamaraj into the hell known as Kumbhipaka, where they're boiled in oil. A person who kills a Brahmin is put into the hell known as Kalasutra, where the land, perfectly level and made of copper, is as hot as an oven. The killer of a Brahmin burns in that land for many years. One who does not follow scriptural injunctions, but who does everything whimsically or follows some rascal, is put into the hell known as Asipatravana. A government official who poorly administers justice, who punishes an innocent man, is taken by the assistance of Yamaraj to the hell known as Sukaramukha, where he's mercilessly beaten. God has given advanced consciousness to the human being. Therefore, he can feel the suffering and happiness of other living beings. A human being bereft of his conscience, however, is prone to cause suffering to other living beings. The assistance of Yamaraj puts such a person into a hell known as Andakupa, where he receives proper punishment from his victims. Any person who does not receive or feed a guest properly, but who personally enjoys eating, is put into the hell known as Krimi Bhojana. There's an unlimited number of worms and insects that continuously bite him. A thief is put into the hell known as Sandamsa. A person who has sexual relations with a woman who is not to be enjoyed is put into the hell known as Taptasurmi. A person who enjoys sexual relations with animals is put into a hell known as Vajrakantika Salmali. A person born into an aristocratic or highly placed family, but who does not act accordingly, is put into the hellish trench of blood, pus, and urine called the Vaitarani River. One who lives like an animal is put into the hell called Puyoda. A person who mercilessly kills animals in the forest without sanction is put into the hell called Pranaroda. A person who kills the animals in the name of religious sacrifice is put into the hell known as Vishashan. A man who forces his wife to drink his semen is put into the hell called Lalabhaksha. One who sets a fire or administers poison to kill someone is put into the hell known as Saramadhyana. A man who earns his livelihood by bearing false witness is put into the hell known as Avici. A person addicted to drinking wine is put into the hell named Ayapan. One who violates etiquette by not showing proper respect to superiors is put into the hell known as Sharakardama. A person who sacrifices human beings to Bhairava is put into the hell called Rakshogan Bhojana. And a person who kills pet animals is put into the hell called Sulaprota. A person who gives trouble to others is put into the hell known as Dandasukha. One who imprisons a living entity within a cave is put into the hell known as Avatanarodna. A person who shows unwanted wrath toward a guest in his house is put into the hell called Paryavartana. A person maddened by possessing riches and thus deeply absorbed in thinking of how to collect money is put into the hell known as Suchimukha. After describing the hellish planets, Sukadeva Goswami describes how pious persons are elevated to the highest planetary system where the demigods live, and how they then come back again to this earth when the results of their pious activities are finished. And finally, he describes the universal form of the Lord and glorifies the Lord's activities. All right. Text 1. King Parikshit inquired from Sukadeva Goswami, "My dear sir, why are the living entities put into different material situations? Kindly explain this to me." Prabhupada's commentary. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the different hellish planets within this universe are held slightly above the Garbhodak Ocean and remain situated there. This chapter describes how all sinful persons go to these hellish planets and how they are punished there by the assistance of Yamaraj. Different individuals with different bodily features enjoy or suffer various reactions according to their past deeds. So the laws of material nature and that govern the cycle of birth and death are very strict and a little complicated also to try and trace out where these different persons who are bewildered like this by the material energy, where their activities and their desires take them. So this is all done in the subtle body. These punishments are they're in the subtle body, I believe. I think so. Anyway, we'll find out later. I'm not sure about that, but let's continue on. There's no purport there. Text 2. The great sage Sukadeva Goswami said, "My dear king, in this material world there are 3 kinds of activities. Those in the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, the mode of ignorance. Because all people are influenced by the 3 modes of material nature, the results of their activities are also divided into 3. One who acts in the mode of goodness is religious and happy. One who acts in passion achieves mixed misery and happiness, and one who acts under the influence of ignorance is always unhappy and lives like an animal. Because of the varying degrees to which the living entities are influenced by the different modes of nature, their destinations are also of different varieties." On to text 3. Just as by executing various pious activities, one achieves different positions in heavenly life, by acting impiously, one achieves different positions in hellish life. Those who are activated by the material mode of ignorance engage in impious activities, and according to the extent of their ignorance, they're placed in different grades of hellish life. If one acts in the mode of ignorance because of madness, his resulting misery is the least severe. One who acts impiously but knows the distinction between pious and impious activities is placed in a hell of intermediate severity. And for one who acts impiously and ignorantly because of atheism, the resultant hellish life is the worse. Because of ignorance, every living entity has been carried by various desires into thousands of different hellish planets since time immemorial. I shall try to describe them as far as possible. So there is a degree here, different degrees. One who is completely mad, we have to see that they would be pretty helpless and they're totally mad. Then their suffering is the least, although it's terrible. It's minimal, compared to what's being described later. And those that know the distinction between good and evil, but they still choose to do the wrong thing, they have a little bit more severity. But those who out and out atheistic, because of that hate and envy of God, well, they get the worst. It says, because of ignorance, every living entity has been carried by various desires into thousands of hellish planets since time immemorial. Are we getting that? Every living entity. Every living entity in the material world. Every living entity. We've all been there and done that. Hare Krishna. Text 4. King Parikshit inquired from Sukadeva Goswami, "My dear Lord, are the hellish regions outside the universe, within the covering of the universe, or in different places on this planet?" Ah, what a great question. That's great. Let's see what the answer is here. Text 5. The great sage Sukadeva Goswami answered, "All the hellish planets are situated in the intermediate space between the 3 worlds and the Garbhodak ocean. They lie on the southern side of the universe, beneath Bhumandala and slightly above the water of the Garbhodak ocean. Pitriloka is also located in this region between the Garbhodak ocean and the lower planetary systems. All the residents of Pitriloka, headed by Agnishwata, meditate in great samadhi on the Supreme Personality of Godhead and always wish their families well." So that's the location. Between the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems, that's the three worlds, there's a space just above the Garbhodak Ocean. And these hellish planets are located in that space. And so is Pitriloka, but Pitriloka is not a hellish planet. It's a planet of the ancestors who are meditating in samadhi, the personality of Godhead. They're benevolent. Prabhupada's purport, as previously explained, below our planetary system are 7 lower planetary systems, the lowest of which is called Patalaloka. Beneath Patalaloka are other planets known as Narakaloka, or the hellish planets. At the bottom of the universe lies the Garbhodak Ocean. Therefore, the hellish planets lie between Patalaloka and the Garbhodak Ocean. Okay, so that, in trying to kind of visualize the structure, the 7 lower planetary systems, they're not hellish planetary systems. They were described, when we were reading about them earlier, as subterranean heavenly planets. So they're lower planetary systems. They're not hellish planetary systems. The hellish planetary systems are outside of that complex. They're below the 3 planetary systems. And they're just above the Garbhodak Ocean. So I'm trying to keep an eye out for if it's explained whether they're subtle planets, or this takes place in the subtle body. I believe so. I believe that's correct. Maybe it'll be discussed here. Text 6. The king of the Pitas is Yamaraj, the very powerful son of the sun god. He resides in Pitriloka with his personal assistants, and while abiding by the rules and regulations set down by the Supreme Lord, has his agents, the Yamadutas, bring all the sinful men to him immediately upon their death. After bringing them within his jurisdiction, he properly judges them according to their specific sinful activities and sends them to one of the hellish planets for suitable judgments. Yeah, so this is the subtle body. Is to bring all the sinful men to him immediately upon their death. And he's residing there in Pitriloka. Okay, but his planet is not a hellish planet. He's residing in Pitriloka. And nearby, in the same area, are these hellish planets. So, Prabhupada's purport. Yamaraj is not a fictitious or mythological character. He has his own abode, Pitriloka, of which he is the king. Agnostics may not believe in hell, but Sukadeva Goswami affirms the existence of the Naraka planets, which lie between the Garbhodak Ocean and the Patalaloka. Yamaraj is appointed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to see that the human beings do not violate his rules and regulations, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Karmano yapi bodhavyam cha vikarmana, akarmana chas bodhavyam, gahana karmano gati. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. One should understand the nature of karma, vikarma, and akarma, and one must act accordingly. This is the law of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The conditioned souls who have come to this material world for sense gratification are allowed to enjoy their senses under certain regulative principles. If they violate these regulations, they are judged and punished by Yamaraj. He brings them to the hellish planets and properly chastises them to bring them back to Krishna consciousness. By the influence of Maya, however, the conditioned souls remain infatuated with the mode of ignorance. Thus, in spite of repeated punishment by Yamaraj, they do not come to their senses, but continue to live within the material condition, committing sinful activities again and again. Yeah. Wow. It's different types of intelligence. Most intelligent, they can understand something by hearing from the proper source, the authority on the subject. They hear and they understand. Less intelligent persons, they hear the good instruction, but it doesn't set in, and they have to see someone go against and not act according to the good instructions and have some reaction come, and then they see, oh, yeah, okay, that's how it works. And then less intelligent than that is someone who hears good instruction, doesn't get it, sees someone else go through it and get the reaction, doesn't get it, and they themselves act improperly. They get the reaction, and then they finally get it. But the problem here is that even though this is like no intelligence, we continue to do the same things over and over again and get the same punishments over and over and over again, unlimitedly. And they don't learn. So what this indicates is that this system of punishment and reward is not the solution to the problem. It's still a form of conditioning to be punished, do something wrong and be punished, so that you learn, hopefully, but we see we don't, not to do it again. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. What has to happen is the Lord Himself, in the form of His representative or His pure message of Godhead, has to reach the souls. Simply being pushed around by the material world is governed by rules and regulations of material nature. It's a machine, and it only works a certain way. Anyone who works with computers, when they first start to try to use a computer, it becomes really clear really quickly that the computer is the boss. And you can't negotiate with the computer. The computer works the way it wants to work, and that's it. And you have to learn what the rules are. And then the computer becomes a useful tool for what you want to do. You have to learn the computer's language, to learn the science of the computer. Otherwise, you make a huge mess, pushing all the wrong buttons, and then in the computer, whatever you tell it to do, it's going to do according to its understanding, according to the rules by which it was created. And that is like the material nature. Exactly. So, simply going from one thing to another in the material world, simply learning how it works, and then thereby having a peaceful go of it, rather than always trying to, having the computer crash and so many error messages and not being able to function properly. That's like the lower modes in ignorance. Having knowledge of how the computer works and doing according to, nicely, you could say, like the mode of goodness, no, hardly any reactions, but that's still not enough. It's not enough to reach that higher state of consciousness. It has to be spiritualized. And you get the mercy of the Lord. See, karma is karma, whether it's good karma or bad karma. Karma means a reaction. And when there's a reaction, it has to be followed through on. So the bad reaction, end up in a suffering, miserable condition. In good reaction, you end up enjoying in a very pleasurable situation, but it's only temporary. It's just a material situation. So that higher consciousness, relationship and loving service to the Lord is what's needed. And it's very helpful. It can be very, very helpful to be in a better mode of activity where there isn't so much stress all the time. We're a little bit peaceful and everything is supplied. So this repeated punishment over and over again to try and follow those rules and laws that allow one to lead a peaceful life, which is a good stepping stone into transcendence. But unfortunately, it goes on over and over again, make the same mistakes. This is what's being said here. The influence of Maya, conditioned souls remain infatuated with the mode of ignorance. They can't seem to get to that higher mode of goodness. They stay in the mode of ignorance, and they keep coming back to this hellish planets over and over again. You have to say this is the bottom of the barrel. And we see from the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he is delivering the bottom of the barrel. So that's why when we read Chaitanya Leela, how these different demigods like Yamaraj, Indra, Brahma, Shiva, they're all overwhelmed to see the mercy of the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's delivering the bottom of the barrel. We see that with Jagai and Madhai. They were headed for these hellish planets. They were headed for Yamaraj's court. And Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Nityananda, they intervened. Oh, happy day. So, with that, no matter how difficult it is, and it is difficult. I know I've got my difficulties. This Rin Tin Tin thing just won't go away. It will. It will. It will go away. So hearing these messages of Godhead is our medicine. So, chanting, engaging in service as far as possible. And if we can have some association with devotees, Hare Krishna.